Hey, I'm Liz, and this is Liz Lives Well. And today I'm going to show you some of the things that I do that help get my kids excited about plants, about foraging, and about gardening. When I grew up, I didn't really know much about plants at all. I wasn't sure what was good to eat, what was not good to eat, and I really didn't know that you could eat plants in your own backyard. So I love being able to raise my kids to know what they can and cannot eat and how they can eat things. Maybe something might be not so great to eat raw, but you can cook it. And we just like to learn as we go. So we let our lawn do what it does best, and that is just evolve and create different things every year for us to be able to benefit from. Our lawn is different every year, and every year we get to learn new things. Maybe one year raspberries will pop up. Another year we have a bunch of catnip. The next year we have a bunch of red elderberry. It's really cool to see the changes. We let our lawn just be all kinds of different flowers and I guess what you would call weeds, we call herbs, and we call food. And it's fun to just literally go around in our lawn and see the different plants. And some of the lawn we actually mow, so it's kind of sad, that we don't get to see it grow up. So sometimes we'll actually just take, when we find something really awesome, we'll take a little bit of it and just dig it out of our yard and then put it in our garden where it can grow nice and big, or put it in our tree line or a bush or something, so that we can have more of it the next year and kind of know where in our yard we can go back and pick it. So there are so many things that are probably just in your backyard, as long as you're not spraying it with a bunch of chemicals or, only just putting a certain kind of grass in it. If your yard is pretty natural, you'll be able to find new plants, and you'll be able to just garden from those plants and start to transplant them to a place where they're safer. They're not going to get mowed down, and you'd be surprised what is actually in your lawn. Just a little disclaimer, I am not a licensed herbalist, so this is just for fun and what we do in our backyard. These are things that we love to eat, and I want to make sure that it's your responsibility to make sure that you identify what you're eating. And if you eat something in your backyard and you get sick, it's not on me, because you have some great resources that you can go to online or in some foraging books where you can read if it is safe or not. Now, before we go out there, we're going to say the first rule of backyard foraging. And what is that?
Don't eat plants if you don't know what it is.
Exactly. Never eat a plant if you don't know what it is. Make sure you identify them properly before they go in your mouth. We just have so many beautiful red strawberries, and they actually keep flowering and fruiting most of the season, which is really awesome. But especially right now, in June, this is the end of June now, our strawberries are just unbelievably beautiful. Just picked a few more, and they are just so red, and they are just beautiful, and they are delicious. So the kids just come out and they get so excited about seeing the red strawberries and picking them and just eating them right in the garden, and it excites them to be able to go into the garden with mommy. We've got cucumbers growing here, and I just wanted to show you kind of how they're starting to grow, because I let the kids help me with the cucumbers to sow them into the ground. And cucumber seeds are really inexpensive, and they're really easy to transplant once they've been planted somewhere. So the kids may have gotten a little happy like in this little part right here, so I'm going to thin this out. And I've actually taken a few of these cucumber sprouts and just planted them somewhere else in the garden. They're really easy just to pull up and then transfer somewhere where they can grow as well. And so you can actually, rather than wasting all of these sprouts, I've been planting a couple in the other garden and where there's a trellis here and there. But the kids have had a really good time helping, and I don't want to discourage them from helping in the garden if they don't get everything perfectly right. So certain things I plant by myself, but other things I just let the kids help, and we just have a good time with it. Also, here in our cattle panel trellis tunnel, we have a lot of grapes starting to grow, and this is our first year doing grapes, so they're not really big yet. We're learning how to grow them, and we're having fun doing it. This one actually has some grapes starting to form, which is very, very exciting, and I can just see the kids walking through this tunnel and just picking grapes left and right. Just like strawberries, my kids eat So many of them. So these little guys starting to grow right here are dragon tongue beans, and we rename them as a family to tiger tongue beans because we don't really do dragons much, but just so that you know what to buy online, they do go by dragon tongue beans. And these are a bush bean, and these are my kids' absolute favorite. And the kids just walk through the garden and they pick them and they eat them fresh. Another thing that we love to have in our garden that comes back every year, we don't have to plant it, and it comes early and grows really tall. We're actually supposed to clip these flowers to help it leaf more, but this is large leaf sorrel. And this is just a beautiful plant, and it grows really well in our garden here in Wisconsin. And the kids, from the earliest part of the spring, just start picking the leaves off and eating them. And they are just absolutely delicious. You can use them in salad. It's a sour kind of green, so the kids just, it's almost like they're natural Sour Patch Kids. I asked my daughter to show me where she forages all of her wild sorrel as well, because she knows all the good spots of the yard. The kids love sorrel. Wood sorrel, actually, you can tell it's wood sorrel because it kind of looks like clovers, but they're kind of bent in the middle of the leaves. And so it almost looks like a droopy clover. To some sheep sorrel that is in our garden, and it's right in our lawn, actually. It's in the part of the garden we haven't put mulch over yet. And so we find it all throughout our lawn. And what does that look like? One is the sheep sorrel. There you go. And just hold it up to the camera so that they can see the shape of the leaf. It actually has these little points in the bottom, and it's also pointy at the top. Here's another one that hasn't been eaten at all. You can kind of see that shape right there in the camera, and the kids love to eat this as well. Another thing that grows in our tree line every year in this part of the yard is oregano. We love oregano, and it loves this space. It's actually right next to our wild raspberries, and it is just amazing. Oh, I just rub it together and smell it. Oh, it is so good. I wish you could smell it through the camera because it's delicious. And so we can dry this and use it for seasoning. You can make tea out of it. You can just eat the leaves, and it is so good. One thing that I bet you really do have in your yard, or at least like on the side of your driveway, because this stuff tends to grow everywhere, even out of a sidewalk, is plantain. This awesome plant is so great for bites and stings. It relieves those things. And if you're out in the yard and maybe you get stung by a bee or you have a mosquito bite, you can actually just take a plantain leaf, chew it up in your mouth a little bit, get all that good stuff out of it. It doesn't taste the best, but you just grind it up. You could take it out and put it right on your bite, and it will relieve it. Now, if you're not as primal, you can actually just pick some, and you can make a salve out of it with some oils and things like that, and just keep it in your house so that when you or your kids have bug bites, you can just put that on it. We've seen an abundance of our red elderberry bushes come out, and I don't know if it was just the climate or the drought we had last year, but or even just the fact that we've been taking back the lilac bushes that have really taken over our tree lines. But we're seeing a lot more red elderberry. Red elderberry is able to be used for medicinal purposes, as well as black elderberry, which is more frequently used for colds and flu and those kinds of things. But you can use red elderberry. Just make sure it's cooked. You can make a syrup. You're probably going to want to add honey to it. Red elderberry doesn't taste all that great, but it does have good properties in it. And we just let the kids know, don't eat those berries raw. They're not going to like it anyways. So since this is such a great year for red elderberries in our yard, we're going to actually go and we're going to pick them. They are perfectly ripe right now. They're just falling right off of the stem. And so this will be our first time making red elderberry syrup from our yard. Check out all these red elderberry bushes. These were not here last year. That is the cool thing about allowing your yard to just do what it does in nature is every year you'll have different things to pick and eat and use medicinally, and nature will just take its course, and then you'll find new things the next year depending on what that season was like. Another edible that we have in our yard on our tree line is stinging nettle. And people get afraid of stinging nettle because of the reaction it can cause in your skin. But really, if you're just picking it with your fingers, I don't really feel a sting at all. Now, if I was to go brush through this with my sensitive skin, I probably would feel it and it would be really uncomfortable. And it looks like something has been eating all of this nettle, so it has a bunch of holes in it. But you can just pick that and have it between your fingers, and it really doesn't mess with the pads of your finger. Now, stinging nettle has awesome medicinal purposes. I am not a fan of it just cooked in a pan. We've tried it, and it's just very strong tasting for me, but I do love it for tea, and I think that it makes some delicious, really healthy tea that is great for your immune system. But as far as, cooking it in a pan, not my favorite, but it's definitely worth a try. Maybe if I add it, maybe if I try a sauce or something next time I do it, I might like it a little bit better. And I'm getting bit up by mosquitoes just doing this video. So I'm taking some of the plantain and I'm just putting it on my bites because I didn't put any spray on. And now I have a bunch of mosquito bites from when we were in the shade. I hate mosquitoes, but that takes away the itch. What actually came from putting this wood chip pile here and the drought we had last year, we have all kinds of raspberries, wild raspberries, just growing here in our tree line. So we're very excited about this summer. Last year they started to grow, but they weren't really fruiting a whole lot. But this year, I believe we're going to have a lot of fruit to pick. When you let your yard grow and nature take its course, some things will move out and some things will move in. Like I just showed you, we have a ton of red elderberries, but right now we don't have as much catnip as we've had in previous years because these elderberry bushes have kind of taken over. And so we do have some catnip though, and it's right there in the middle of that burdock. I'll show you. Catnip is part of the mint family, and it has that square stem, and it is very, very calming. So you can make a catnip tea or a tincture. Oh, it smells really good, and I guess it is famous for giving to your cats, and maybe it has those properties for cats that they really like, but it's great for humans too. So we've dried it and crushed it up and use it for tea or supplements, and it has that calming effect. So that is the catnip, and it is right in the middle of all of this burdock. And we have in our yard what's called great burdock. It gets absolutely huge. Let me see if I can actually move this camera so you can just see how tall it gets. It is really big. And burdock root is really, really, really good for you. So we have sandy soil, so it's not too hard to dig them out, but it still is a lot of work. And I've got 2 kids and I homeschool, so we actually get burdock root powder from Frontier Co-op, and we put it in our smoothies. It's very healthy. So one of these days I'm going to come out and I'm going to harvest a lot more of our own burdock root. But for now, we order it. It's great for smoothies. It brings in this really awesome nutty flavor and a lot of really great health benefits. It's used in a lot of other countries, more so than we're aware of it here in the US. But a lot of times it's right in your backyard and you don't even realize the things that are so healthy that you can just walk outside and grab. Another thing that I love about burdock, I know people kind of hate on burdock because they have these seeds that are really sticky, and you know, you don't want the kids to go through it. I know when I was a kid, my friend and I went through this patch of burdock and our hair got full of the seeds and it was all stuck to our hair, and we almost had to cut our hair off. It was so bad. So I've always kind of been like, ew, burdock. But then when I saw how healthy it was and the benefits of it, I absolutely love burdock. And I'll show you a picture because they're not blooming yet, but burdock flowers are so beautiful. They have this color and shape that I haven't really seen in many flowers around here. And I just love when they bloom. So yeah, the seeds are annoying, but the roots are super, super healthy. You can actually eat the stems too. They're not like super flavorful or anything, but you can just chop it up and put it in soup. You actually pick the stem and you like unwrap it a little bit. You know, you can just kind of peel it back with your hands, and then you can just eat the inside of that stem. This vine right here is actually Virginia creeper. And it likes this bush right now because it's about all it has to hold on to, but we're going to actually plant some over by our garden fence so it can climb up the fence. Virginia creeper is known as just a weed to a lot of people, but it actually has some really awesome medicinal properties that you can go ahead and look up. There are some really cool things we have in our yard, in our garden, that our kids absolutely love. And every year I try to involve them more and more in the gardening process. Now, I'm not perfect at this. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this has to be right. And so I try to garden some of those things myself. But then I always try to have some things where they can join in and I'm not as picky about it. And we just have fun together and things that they get excited about, to run out to the garden and see if we have anything fresh that they can pick and eat right then and there. So there's our video. We had a good time showing you around our yard. It's starting to rain now. We're gonna go inside, but just remember,
Don't eat a plant if you don't know what it is.
hi, I'm Liz, and this is my brand new channel called Liz Lives Well. Consider liking this video if you thought it was great, and subscribing to the channel for more videos of living a lifestyle of wellness from a biblical Christian perspective.